Yeah, we started off, without Joe and Gabe, not really having too much in terms of the wing play. We went into a 5-3-2. Wanted to take away the middle of the park with the 5 in the back and then the 3 interior midfielders. With 2 high, we had Miguel and Christian. Wanted Miguel's legs, someone who could stretch them out in transitions and help us to create some space, to be able to get Marco on the ball underneath them sometimes. But, first and foremost was they're a team that they overload the middle of the field. Their wingers come inside. Forsberg plays underneath. They have a big striker, very good. Fullbacks start getting high, and they, in the first goal, they kill us off of a loss of possession between our lines, and then they play right through us, which is typical Red Bull, soccer. And what we wanted to take away was the middle of the park and not let them play balls through our lines. And pretty early on, that's the first goal that unlocks us. So again, the second is, I think the game comes off of the left side and we're in a rotation. Again, not being in a 5 a lot. We're in a rotation where everybody has to slide around because Mickey has released, and I think we stop the rotation, and as Forsberg runs out, we aren't continuing the rotation. We're just kind of stopping, and then he finds a space right in between us. So I think a little bit of maybe uncomfortable in the setup in terms of managing the different things. We weren't connected as much as we needed to be to take away the middle, and because we were down pretty quick, I felt like confidence drops a little bit, certainty drops a little bit, and we start giving up things. We start getting disconnected at times, and things start coming through our lines. And defensively, we start getting a little stretched out because I feel like we're chasing it just a touch again from pretty early in the game. So on top of that, we have this isn't the difference in the game, but we get ourselves into some really good spots where I think we maybe 2 or 3 goals that really were there for us. We don't get those, but I think a lot of things started to go wrong once we started to get on the wrong side of the result. Obviously, Mickey, own goal, other situations where we gamble or we make bad decisions in the defensive side of things or in the transition, and we start getting separated, and I think we start losing, making some bad decisions and some bad plays. So I would say not much went right.
Yeah, I understand. Is this an effort issue for you? Did eventually the tide turn so much against you guys that there was no climbing back out of it?
I don't know if it's an effort issue. I think there's, at times when you give up goals like that, it can be a little bit of confidence or uncertainty. I thought we were reactive, maybe. At times where you try to adapt and play in a different structure, and your decisions become different. They're different when you're in a 3 than when you're a 5 than they are in a 4. And I felt like sometimes we were a little more reactive, and we needed to be proactive. This is a team that they put you in those situations. If you turn over the balls, they're not hesitating. They're running through the line and they're playing forward, and I think they created some uncertainties for us, and I think that led to just some indecision. That led to some uncomfortable positions. We tried to get out of the 5 and get to the 4, just into something that I felt like at least the guys were more comfortable in, more familiar with. We kind of stabilized a tiny bit for a little bit, but again, we started to get a little bit uncomfortable there, just because I think guys are out of position. Guys aren't really playing their primary positions in some ways, and decisions and confidence and reactivity, I think, is more than effort. I don't think it's an effort issue. I think it's a little bit indecisive, and at times, getting tighter to guys in duels and things like that, where we go the extra yard and we don't stop and concede the space where they're just playing balls through our line. So we were just not connected tonight, and that when you're not connected against a Red Bulls team, it's going to be a big problem, because they challenge your lines and they challenge the space in behind you so often that if you're disconnected, it's a problem.
Thanks, Greg.
Go ahead, Scott.
Hi, Greg. Looking big picture, is there any thought that this is hitting bottom, and parcel of that is that you can't get worse, so things have to get better?
I don't know. I mean, I guess like this is a horrible night. We've had on rare occasions through the courses of a season you have an absolute shitter, and tonight we did. But in every game prior to this, we've been in every game, we've competed in every game, we've the margin has been 1 goal in most of these, and I'm not excusing it, but tonight it just totally got away from us, and that's something that we have to address quickly. Again, we adapted the shape, and trying to do something a little bit different because we're missing such critical players that bring, and we don't have a ton of guys who play the same roles in anything that looks like the similar way. And so we tried to adapt. And I think inside of adapting against a team as aggressive as Red Bulls, they created uncertainties on us right away. And I think that made us reactive. And in reactive, we got uncomfortable and then we made mistakes. And so I think the key thing for us is to find a way to leave this on the field in Red Bulls, because I thought last week we had a very good performance on the road in Kansas City that deserved better but didn't get it, and today we got smashed, and it's the first time in the season I would say we just totally got outplayed on the field and looked very uncomfortable and uncertain. So try to get back to the things that we do best, and get healthy and get guys going and try to build upward. But yeah, let's hope this is the rock bottom part.
You guys have played well enough to win several games this year. Yeah, the results should be better. Does it feel like the results are happening in an alternate reality?
Sometimes. I mean, we haven't had anything. Today we were shit, and that's the end of that. And from start to finish, it wasn't good. And, spade is spade. That was it. I think, and there's other games through the course of the season where we played well and we either just made mistakes that hurt us, or we didn't capitalize on moments that we need to, and that's the difference in results. The margins are thin. Tonight they weren't thin. Tonight they thoroughly beat us and they deserved to win. But in a lot of other games the margins were very fine, and mistakes hurt us. So we've got to figure out within our group and the guys that we have how to try to improve our margins and try to execute. And one thing tonight, and one thing we know for sure, is we have to stay connected as a group. We can't get disconnected, because then we get exposed and things can go sideways.
Okay, and then lastly, without Edwin on Wednesday, what's the plan?
Oh my God!
Thank you, Greg.
Yeah, we just gave up 7. I haven't thought enough about Wednesday and that, but we'll have a group of guys that want to go out and compete, and we'll put together a group that'll be ready.
Thanks, Greg.
Go ahead, Damien.
Hey, Greg. I know you talked a couple weeks ago about getting Sanabria and Cemento up to speed. You played them a little bit extended today. What did you think of them tonight going into Wednesday?
They look like what I think they look like, and they showed where I think they're at. I think Lucas shows in individual duels and competitiveness he can battle and he can scrap, and he has a lot of upside. I think there's times where I think he's a little all over the field, because his nature is just to get out and kind of play and duel and do those things, which I think he can do, and he did fine, and he managed some pressure, and he got caught in possession a couple times, but I thought he got out and he tried to cover ground and duel and do the things that he does. I think it's inside of that is really getting him more aware of his surroundings, making sure that he's connecting with his group and not just running and doing individual sort of things from time to time, but it's getting him to see more of the game, think more of the game, and connect with the group a little bit more. But he has the raw sort of power and he has the ability to do things in the confrontational situations. You see him get into challenges, close people hard. So I like that aspect of him. I think it's something this team needs desperately, is somebody who wants to get into a challenge and compete and duel. It's about when and where and how, and those are the things that I think inside of this league and this group that he's still working through. He's a young player, and so he'll get there. As far as Elijah, some similar things. I mean, they're different types of players, but Elijah has a lot of physical gifts. He covers ground. He's rangy. He's powerful. He's a guy that he's younger, and again, combining the game reading and the connecting to the group, technically getting a little bit tighter sometimes in spaces that are a little tighter in the midfield, things like that are things he's going to have to get through. But again, when those guys came on the field, we could cover more ground, we could run, we can compete, we can do a lot of things, but inside of that, it's to improve sort of the decision making and making sure that we're running and using our legs and competing in the right ways in the right places, and not just separating ourselves or being ambitious, but not staying connected together. But again, these guys have upside. That's part of the learning process. So we're trying to get them time and try to get them experience through training and everything else to get them ready to go to help this team. But it's a process for them.
I know you said this wasn't an effort thing, but if it's not effort, is it bite? Is it competitiveness? What do you think is lacking?
Yeah, as I said in this game, we got disconnected, and when you get disconnected, every player gets exposed. They become individual players, and it's not a connected team. And we got separated. Again, we played in a different structure, which means when you play in a different structure, for those who don't connect to this, your decisions become different, right? Your rotations become different. If you're playing in a back five, then the rotation to step out the wing back and everybody sliding around to cover becomes a little bit different. And I think inside of it, because we turned over a ball and got penetrated early, I think we started to get a little bit indecisive. And I think when you haven't played in a system all that much, when the opposition starts throwing different things at you, you don't know how to you don't have clarity on how to adapt to the different things that are coming at you. That's why I don't love doing it that much, is trying to stick to something that guys are familiar with, that they're comfortable with adapting inside of the game, because it's their base foundation. Is the best way to go about it. And we tried to adapt because we truly didn't have the wingers. I would have been putting players in uncomfortable positions, and we tried to do something that was a little different to protect ourselves and win the middle and try to prevent their penetration, and it didn't work. And so indecisiveness can look like lack of effort when what it is reactivity. And when you're second guessing or you're uncertain, then you're going to be late. And when you're late, it looks like a lack of effort, and it's not that. It's just a lack of clarity and a lack of certainty. And when you're on the field, you don't want to be uncertain. You want to be in control of things. And so that's where I think some of what I think is where we're getting reactive. I think as we started to take goals, I think confidence started to sink a little bit, which also leads to indecision, and indecision again leads to being late. And so are there duels we should win? 100%. 100%. I think as a team, we're not physical enough, and I said that's one of the reasons why I think Lucas is so important to getting up to speed and helping us, is because again, winning duels is an important part of the game, and we need to be better there. We don't win enough duels, and that's one of the reasons we don't win midfield often enough, I think, in some of these games.
All right, thank you.
Go ahead, Soph.
Hey, Greg. You've seen some super highs in your career and been through adversity. Would you say this is personally the biggest adversity you've faced in the game?
I don't know. I mean, 2023 was a tough year, and this is in it. The stretch of games is difficult. It's a group that is, in certain areas we have players that are trying to learn and catch up, and in certain areas we have players who have a ton of experience, but are not really ready and suited for a team that has a little bit of lack of experience in certain areas. Our guys who have really good brains aren't in the perfect moment of their legs, and they need the game to be organized, and they need the game to be connected, and they need to have those runners around them who are making good runs and doing things. So we're kind of in this interesting mix of young players who can really run, but their decision making is a work in progress, and we have some older players who can really think, who need the young players to do some of the running for them, and we don't have a ton of guys who are in the middle. Right, and you can look at our roster and you can probably see that, and especially when you don't have a Gabe and a Joe, and when we start looking into the rest of the group, it gets young and older, and we need to find that balance where these guys are meeting the same level. And again, tonight is an exacerbation of, I think, what has been a difficult year, but on the margins. Tonight wasn't on the margins. Tonight was we just got outplayed tonight, and we were indecisive, and we paid for it heavily. And I think tonight is tonight is not the same night as the ones we've been having previous in this journey. And so I think looking at tonight is something to go back and say, hey, we tried something, it didn't work, we weren't comfortable in it, and that's something that we should put in the bank, because we tried to adapt under the circumstances and we didn't accomplish it.
Do you feel like with all of your, 3 DPs all out, that's got to be tough? I mean, you're seeing it in the results. Do you believe, like, with a fully fit team, it's a totally different story, right?
Well, 100%. I mean, look across the league and take their 3 DPs out on most teams, and you have a very different team. I think in addition to that, not just the 3 DPs, and I'm not slighting any of our guys. We have a young group of players, because some of the middle tier of players that I was just kind of talking about are guys, unfortunately, that we weren't able to keep this past season, and we've replaced them with young guys and in our midfield per se. And so we're in this weird place where we're trying to, again, give young guys the experience to get them to where they need to be, and they're surrounded by older players who have a ton of experience and know-how, but they need the younger players to also be able to do that work. And so when you miss Joe and you miss Gabe and obviously Ricky, those 3 guys, I think, combined probably were accounted for about 60 to 70 goal contributions last year. And that's a big deal, because the opposition also has to worry about them. They have to think about them on the attacking side, which helps us defensively and obviously creating chances. So, look, I don't want to drone on. Tonight was a shit night for us. We were poor, and we tried to adapt, and it didn't work to the situation, and the situation includes who we didn't have. And for sure, you put the whole group of this team together, we're in a different place. Does that mean we don't need to still get better? 100%. I think we still need to get better, but I think when you miss three of the more dangerous players in the league, it's going to impact your team. And it doesn't mean we should take 7. That's for sure.
Thanks, Greg.
And we'll wrap with in person right here.
So, Greg, you, again, like they just said, you lost your 3 DPs with injuries, Zanka as well, with suspension or not playing.
Yeah, Zanka, personal reasons that he didn't make the trip, unfortunately.
So, and then moving on to Philadelphia, do you think this group, you'll be resting some of these guys for the Trafico, or what are your plans for the next trip?
Yeah, we'll assess as we go to Philadelphia. First thing is we try to set up the team and something that feels more comfortable, and guys feel a little more certain about their connections and their decisions, because tonight was not a great example of that. And see who's healthy, who's ready, who we think we can still compete to win the game on Wednesday, and what that might mean on flying back. It's in our league and the way the schedules work, when you go 2 on the road East Conference and you come home back for the third one, it makes the third one almost feel like a road game in a way, because you've been on the road the whole week. So we got to find a balance. I don't have the answer for you right now. It will come in the next couple of days as we prepare the group.